Yep, I can't believe it myself, guys. I really, really can't. We're back on the channel once again. It's been a while. It's been too long. Let's be frank. It's been too long. But I really, really have missed talking to you guys. As I said, you might not know, I did finish university this year, and I have been doing quite a lot of stuff towards that. Obviously, the big modules towards the end, so I've been focusing on that and exams, of course, and getting stuff sorted for after uni life, really. So that's why I haven't really been posting too much on this channel. I'd love to say it's because there's nothing good to post about in terms of we were terrible at the back end of last season. I'd love to make some sort of excuse, but realistically it was just the fact that I was mainly snowed under with uni work and all the stresses of that. But we are done with that now. We are looking forward to hopefully a bright future. Who knows? But hopefully, I'm keeping my fingers crossed, and hopefully a bright future for everyone who's been tuned into this channel, because I really do appreciate all of the support that you guys have given me since I started the channel and recently as well. But thank you to everyone who will be watching and who does join us for tonight's stream. If you do want to watch it on the replay, feel free to do so, and also leave your thoughts on anything discussed in the comment section down below, and feel free to leave a like if you do enjoy the content, as is customary around here. But I do want to say, obviously, there has been quite a bit of news surrounding Manchester United in the last few days. It seems to be pretty dormant up until kind of the start of this week, where we started to get a few transfer rumours coming through. But ultimately, it's pretty well since the season ended, there hasn't really been much, just speculation, which is obviously very, very apt for Manchester United. Usually that's how it goes. Usually the speculation lasts longer. In fact, last season I don't think we brought in anyone until our first game of the season, where we were parading Rafael Varane, and obviously Sancho started. So we didn't really get to see too much of the new signings in pre-season. Hopefully the likes of Malacia, and we'll talk about him in today's show, the likes of Malacia will actually get to see in some pre-season games before the season starts. Fingers crossed, but you never know with Manchester United, and with the news that's coming out today and the unpredictability of it, or the unpredictableness of it, it's going to be an interesting ride. I can feel it. I can definitely feel it. But just want to say welcome to G. Thanks for joining, mate. Really, really good to see you, my friend. Hopefully you're doing well. Make sure to check out his channel, as usual, Red Devil Studio, if you haven't already. Brilliant stuff over there. And RJ, thanks for joining, RJ. Always great to see you here, buddy. Always great to see you. Always great to hear from you. And make sure to check out Let's Talk Premier League as well. Some great content coming up on that, I'm sure. Brilliant channel over there. Yeah, make sure you check that out. And RJ, always great to see you. And Matthew's joined us as well. Turn up for the books. He says, well, look who's finally showed up. Yeah, I know it's been a while. I don't actually know how long it's been. I feel like it's been over 2 months. I haven't actually, it's been a long time. It's been a while. And to be honest with you, I would like to say that, but ultimately I don't think I really have. I think, I do talk about the fact that I didn't really upload in the last couple months, but at the same time there wasn't many substantial stories to talk about, really. I think everyone knew the score, the way we were playing, same match reaction for the last 7 or 8 games of that season, really, and no one would have noticed the difference. They really wouldn't have. Scored by then. And in terms of transfer activity or any sort of news, we didn't really get any. I think since I've kind of been away, obviously those fans in that pub, and that was interesting, kind of seeing that side of things and seeing some of the comments he was saying, I guess. And then obviously just the standard transfer links we get this time. It's going to be a very, very interesting month, or couple of months really, as we head into the new cell, to cover it on Red Devil Weekly and just give my thoughts on it, because at the end of the day, all this is really is just me giving my thoughts and saying your thoughts only. So in the end of the day, it's not really anything formal. It's just kind of, it is what it is. We just talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. And today, the two major stories really that are circulating today is Cristiano Ronaldo and Tyrell Malacia news. And we're going to start with Cristiano Ronaldo. Let's get straight into nitty-gritty. Enough of me waffling on. I'm sure you're not too bothered about that. Cristiano Ronaldo story is that, well, it's being reported anyway today that he wants to leave Manchester United, or has requested to leave Manchester United if a good offer comes in for him. And there are some people suggesting that the fact that this rumour's come out and all the journalists are reporting it suggests that a good offer has come in for him already. The fact that he's saying he wants to leave if a good offer comes in for him almost suggests that there is an offer on the table. And who knows, where to is obviously a different question entirely. Some people saying, Bayern Munich to replace Robert Lewandowski, who looks like he might be on the way out. Some people suggesting, could be a move. Obviously, you've got Sporting Lisbon. You've got Sporting Lisbon in the equation as well. But it's going to be interesting to see if he does get his move away. Manchester United, incidentally, reportedly have remained the same on their stance that Cristiano Ronaldo is not for sale and is in Erik Ten-Hag's plans. So it's going to be a very interesting transfer saga. One which, debatably, we probably didn't need at this point in the season, especially when we're trying to bring in new signings. Having a kind of outgoing drama, EastEnders-like soap opera going on at the club when you're trying to do transfer business, especially when we're so far behind in the transfer business that we're looking to do, it seems. It's not brilliant. It's not brilliant. But there's a lot of stake here, really. There's a lot of stake in terms of, if Ronaldo leaves, who are we going to replace him with? Are we going to replace him with anyone at all? Are we going to look to use the likes of Martial or Rashford like we did when Ole Gunnar Solskjaer first took over? It's going to be a very interesting dilemma. It really, really is. But we'll see how it unfolds. Who knows? Ronaldo might stay. He might end up staying. That seems to be the position that Manchester United are taking up. They want to see Cristiano Ronaldo fulfil the last year that he has on his contract. TTX, thanks for joining, mate. Appreciate it. Well, look who's back. Yeah, I'm so glad to be back, and I'm sure I'll get a few more comments like that, but it's always good to hear from you, TTX. Always good to see you in the live chat. It's always good to see everyone in the live chat really giving their opinion. But cheers for joining, TTX. Always good to hear. Losing Ronaldo itself isn't a huge problem, but the fact we haven't planned to replace him is worrying. Well, this is the dilemma, and this is the question. Have we planned to replace a replacement, or is this something which has been brewing and there have been rumours when they knew that Ronaldo wasn't too happy? I remember earlier in the transfer window, maybe a couple of weeks ago, with the lack of ambition of the club, essentially. So I don't know whether they internally have known for a while that Ronaldo wasn't happy and that he might leave. I mean, I hope they increase the likelihood that they've actually lined up some sort of replacement. But if they haven't, then yeah, it could be very, very worrying times. Other than go to Man City, the rest of the Premier League striking options look very, very tasty. Over Richarlison to their Arsenal, incidentally, or ironically. But yeah. No, not just title challengers, but top four rivals look to have strengthened their striking options, and we, by letting go of Ronaldo, will have weakened them. Ricky, thanks for joining, Ricky. Appreciate it. Always good to hear from you, my friend. Striker, we now need two, or we needed a striker. We now need two. But thanks for joining, Ricky. Always good to hear from you. It's a very interesting one. It's a very, very interesting one. Not one that I fully expected. As I stumblings on social media a couple of weeks ago, that Ronaldo wasn't happy with the lack of ambition. But I didn't really expect him to want to leave. I know a lot of people are trying to attribute it to the fact that we've got Europa League football and maybe Ronaldo doesn't want to play in the Champions League. And in some ways, with the way he performed last season and the important goals he scored for us, he probably doesn't deserve to play in the Europa League. He's definitely deserving of a place in the Champions League. But obviously, some people are accusing him of kind of leaving a sinking ship, kind of when the going gets tough, the tough get going sort of thing. It is frustrating, I think, because I do think next season, especially under a new manager, he would have had a lot to offer, and he might still do if he stays. But ultimately, for me, I just see that if he is going to go, and if he isn't part of the best of both parties, I'm not sure what you guys think. Let me know in the live chat, as always. Skulls is joining us. Thank you for joining, Skulls. Appreciate it. Always good to hear from you, mate. says, or thinking, well, that is a big reach. That is a massive reach, I'll give you that. And TTX says, first time in 9 years we haven't signed anyone in June, especially when the season starts earlier. Clearly there's a lack of planning and shambles of recruitment, as always. But you kind of summed it up in that comment, to be honest with you. Yeah, it's a frustrating thing for Manchester United fans, season in, season out, to kind of witness this sort of slow-paced nature, lack of urgency in terms of recruitment. Even when they brought in new chief executives and they've made changes behind the scenes, obviously Richard Arnold coming in and these guys, John Murta, I think all the right things were being said and all the kind of good, sweet music about the changing of the culture, Ed Woodward leaving his position. Everyone was thinking, we're going to go in a little bit of a new direction, but it seems that leopards don't change their spots. Everyone is just kind of part of the same tree, if you like. And yeah, it's frustrating. And obviously, in that video that came out with Richard Arnold with those fans of the pub, I think he kind of talked about the fact that we just don't have the funds to get certain deals over the line. But I'm sure with the Glazers taking out 11 million in dividends and all this sort of thing, I'm sure there would have been a few or I don't understand why we're haggling over small amounts of money, but as you said perfectly there, this is not new. This is something we've done season in, season out, and it is getting frustrating, I can't lie, but I think you summed it up perfectly there. Skull says perhaps it's like a government project where no one will touch it as suddenly they have to take responsibility. Oh, maybe it is, who knows, it's an interesting hypothesis, I'd say. Ricky says, now that Ronaldo has left, who should be captain? Might as well be Maguire. Ricky, I'm not sure you'd be the most popular with that kind of thought process. I don't know. I mean, let me know what you guys think. That's an interesting question. Obviously, with Ronaldo leaving, Maguire was the club captain. I don't know if this season Ten Hag is going to take it in a different direction. I don't see it being one of the new signings, especially with the players we've been linked with. I just don't see any of them, being captain material. I know De Jong's an experienced player, but I just don't see him giving it to him. So I really do wonder who Ten Hag's going to make captain, whether he's going to keep Maguire captain or whether we're going to see somebody else. I think the majority of United fans would like to see somebody else take the armband, but obviously it's up to Ten Hag, it's up to him. And I would probably give it to someone who was pretty well assured of their place in the team. I'm not sure Maguire is really assured, especially with the rumours that Ten Hag is favouring a Lindelof and Varane partnership for next season. So I don't know. Maybe Varane's up for it. Maybe Varane's a candidate. I think De Gea is definitely a candidate if we keep De Gea as well. Long service as well for De Gea, so he's got that experience that Ten Hag might look for in a potential captain. Apart from that, I can't see too many candidates. Maybe should at a stretch. Bruno Fernandes, of course, he's been captain for us a few times, so there's a few I'm sure Ten Hag and Steve McLaren and these guys are looking at, but I don't know. I think for me it would either be De Gea or Fernandes. I just think with Maguire, that captain's armband it's just been used as a bit of a stick to battle him with, and obviously his performance, but the fact he's got the captain's armband I think does weigh down a little bit more. Captain's armband off him is the best thing. TTX says the only time we win a title, it's, well, if you look at it, the only time we won a title, well, pretty well last kind of 25, 35 years was when Sir Alex Ferguson was in charge, and he obviously was underneath the Glazers essentially for I think 2 or 3 of the title wins. Maybe even more than that, but obviously that's a special exception where you've got a special group of players, a special manager, and you kind of embedded the winning culture over a long period of time, whereas obviously now it's just been a bit of a shambles since he left. So I think in terms of recruitment, that's the biggest thing for me. I think, in changing the culture of the club, yes, that has to be one of the priorities, but you only really change that culture with the right coaching staff and the right personnel. And realistically, the personnel that we brought in, I don't really know whether they have been the right profile. I mean, you look at some of the players we brought in, Alexis Sanchez, Angel Di Maria, are these people who have come out recently and said they hated their time at Man United, they never wanted to come, they essentially just came for the money. Are these the sort of players that really are going to help us change the culture? Romelu Lukaku, for example, obviously hasn't really worked out for him. He's gone back to Inter Milan. These sort of big names, which on paper look really good and might get you kind of 15, 20 goals a season, but ultimately the attitude is not right. And if you look at the teams like Liverpool, and obviously I hate to say it, but the way Liverpool are, kind of built up under Jurgen Klopp, all of the players that he signs and all of the players he has at his disposal are, sing off the same hymn sheet and have the right attitude and all get behind the same project. Whereas, it's a bit of a cliche, but it does seem like most of them United players that have been brought in, maybe a few exceptions, but on the whole, they've been in for themselves, and it's been a bit of a team of individuals who are looking to kind of boost their own profiles and boost their own kind of standings in the football world, whilst also kind of incidentally playing in a team that tries to win every week. And it is frustrating, but I think the Glazers, especially with the lack of money spent and the lack of money spent this season, obviously the fact we're outside the Champions League is going to be a little bit of a worry and does take some money off the transfer kitty. Of course it does. And they have talked about the fact they will need to get some people out the door before we can bring some people in, which is understandable, but it is frustrating from a United fan point of view, of course. Luca, thanks for joining, Luca. Appreciate it. Hope you're doing well. Big up to yourself. Make sure to check out Luca's channel if you haven't already. Great stuff. Obviously an Arsenal fan, but we do big up everyone's channel, and I'm sure he's got some brilliant stuff on there as well. So even if you are just a football fan, make sure to check it out. Luca's a good guy, so yeah, make sure to check it out. And G, thanks for joining, as I said. Make sure to check out his channel. Brilliant stuff over there. Need to get Kieran to 1k by the end of the season. Hey, I'll take that. That'd be amazing. Just to get to 1,000 subscribers. I don't think I've ever had a channel that's got to 1,000 subscribers. So yeah, that'd be pretty cool to get to that milestone. But as long as you guys are watching and enjoying, I don't really mind how many subscribers I've got. Honestly, it's just good to kind of vent and get my opinions off my chest and kind of listen to you guys and get your opinions and compare and contrast and all that sort of good stuff. Matthew says, give the captaincy to De Gea just to rattle Owen. Well, that would be. I mean, it's double whammy for me, De Gea getting captaincy as a reward for the good service he's done, and if Owen's a little bit disappointed as well, yeah, it's a win-win. It really is a win-win. I do apologise as well. There has been any sort of lag throughout the stream. I did see in the left-hand corner, it was saying that it was a little bit slow. So if it is a little bit laggy, I do apologise. The internet can play up a bit. And I know if you do live in this part of the world, you'll agree with me on that one. The internet isn't the most stable, but yeah, hopefully you can still hear me, and hopefully you can get your thoughts in the live chat. But we've talked a little bit about Ronaldo. If you've got anything else to say, anything to say on what I've commented, whether good or bad, your opinion is what matters. Leave your thoughts in the comment section down below. But we're going to talk about our first potential incoming. The deal is not 100% done yet. Yes, we've got the here we go from Fabrizio Romano and obviously David Ornstein as well, which a lot of people are kind of saying maybe he's the best for transfers, as he's demonstrated in this transfer window. He's got a few big scoops. So both of them have said that the Malacia deal is going to happen. Reports are suggesting that he'll be flying into Manchester tomorrow, which is exciting. It's exciting news. A 22-year-old from Feyenoord, fullback, defender. I think it's not a bad signing. I'm not gonna sit here and say that I've watched him for the last kind of few years and followed his career, because I haven't, and I don't think realistically, unless you're a massive fan of the Eredivisie, I don't think many United fans will admit that they've followed their career. I think most United fans will say that ultimately he's someone who has been exciting. For example, in the Conference League, he's played a few decent games, and from what I've seen of him in terms of highlights packages, he does look very, very good. And the main thing for me is if Ten-Hag is very passionate about bringing him in and sees him as an integral part of the long-term success of Manchester United, then I don't care whether I've seen him play 50 games he played last season. I don't really care. Ultimately, it's all about Ten-Hag getting the players that he wants and he feels like he needs to be successful. So many managers we've had post Alex Ferguson have talked about the fact that yes, they've spent a lot of money, but a lot of the time under the old kind of regime of Woodward and these guys, they have not delivered the players that they actually want. You know, they delivered players which may be similar to that, or, you know, players that, you know, kind of are good for PR, good for shirt sales, and good on paper. But ultimately, you know, the fact that the likes of Jose Mourinho have come out and said they've given a list of players that they wanted to sign to, you know, the likes of Ed Woodward and the rest of the recruitment team, and he's been told that he's not allowed to sign certain players, or that they can't sign, is an absolute farce. It's an absolute farce. But yeah, ultimately, it's one of those things which is again something that we all know as Manchester United fans. You know, the recruitment policy has been an absolute joke at times, and as I said, with Malacia, he looks like a decent player, but all I care about is whether Ten Hag truly believes he is in the long-term future of Manchester United. And if he does, if he's done the scouting reports and Steve McLaren and the rest of his coaching staff are happy with it, then I'm happy with it. I just want to see Ten Hag get the players that he wants and that he needs. RJ, as I said, thanks for joining at the top of the show. Make sure to check out his stuff, and make sure to check out Let's Talk Premier League as well. Sure, some brilliant content is coming on that. He says, damn bro, it's been a long time. Your baby face look like a kid. Yeah, I know. Oh, I get ID'd everywhere I go, mate. I get ID'd everywhere I go. Trust me. Don't worry about that. Yeah, I shaved off the beard. I just, it's one of those things that was a little bit patchy. I just went, you know what? I'm just gonna shave it off. I think I do look a bit of a baby face, to be fair, but it's just easier. It's just easier on the skin, you know what I mean? It's more comfortable. It's more comfortable. But honestly, if I could grow a beard, I would, and I would style it and everything. But sometimes you just got to admit defeat. You know, I can't have beard like you, RJ. You know, you can't grow out a beard like that. Can't grow out a beautiful beard like you can. But yeah, I wish, but I can't. So you just have to accept defeat. But yeah, no, always good to see. And I hope everyone who's watching is doing well as well. As I said at the start of the show, I've been away for a bit, so I don't know how long. I said I think probably just over 2 months. I've had kind of uni work and things like that to do, exams and the like, so I've been focusing on that. But I just thought, you know what, tonight, not doing anything tonight. I was out last night, but not doing anything tonight. May as well talk about the recent news. So, you know, and also just gauge your opinion, because it's one thing looking at, you know, Twitter, looking at social media, and seeing the some of the interesting takes on there, but actually kind of listening to you guys and seeing what you guys are saying is always good to kind of gauge what the fan base are thinking about the latest topics. But yeah, Malacia for me looks like seeing a new signing come through the door after all this time, after all the speculation, and hopefully we can get this done sooner rather than later, so we can move on. You know, the priority isn't necessarily a Malacia type signing. Yes, I'm quite happy with it, but ultimately, CDM is the biggest priority for me. Let go of Matic. You know, it's a big thing for me that we do bring in a DM. And I've seen a lot of people, you know, kind of CDM, position filled. And obviously, you've got the likes of De Jong has played DM a little bit, but I think he is more of a playmaking player, which, you know, maybe not as advanced as Bruno Fernandes, but he has similar qualities. But I think we can get someone in who is solid as a rock in that position. You know, like, you know, someone like an Yves Bissouma, who's obviously already gone to Spurs. You know, if we could rewind the clock about 5-6 years and get the Matic that was at Chelsea under Conte, that would probably be we can't do that. So, you know, or even the Kante that first kind of won the league with Chelsea. You know, that further time moves on, but ultimately, you know, I think for me that's the biggest position, because, you know, we leaked a lot of goals last season. Yes, 20 less goals than we did the season previous. So, you know, obviously, goal scoring though is not ideal in terms of, you know, kind of losing goals scoring numbers, but the amount of goals we conceded, I think that was the most amount of goals we conceded in the Premier League era. And if we are going to get top four, get back into the top four, because ultimately that's where we've got to be looking. Yes, people will say with Manchester United we've got to aim for titles, and I totally agree for that. I agree with that, but realistic, this is a new project, and I feel like you can't put too much pressure on it. You just got to go for top four. I'm sure the players will be aiming for the title regardless, because that's what the biggest prize that you could possibly get. But I think as fans, and in my personal view, if we get back into the Champions League and win a trophy, I think it's been a fairly successful season. But we'll talk a bit about that later. DM is the biggest thing. I think there's a massive disconnect between the defence and the forward line, and even the midfielders. There are massive gaps in between those three positions. And teams like teams lower down the table were able to exploit that at will, and we were cut open time and time again. So that for me, who's very strong in that position, I think will be looking okay, and hopefully Ten Hag has identified some candidates. RJ says, "What's that? Never happened to me, but it's all good to see you, mate. I've been gone recently from YouTube, finally done school and heading to uni in September. Congratulations. Hope the transition goes well for you. Hope the transition goes well, mate. It's a great 3 years, or maybe 4 years if you're doing a master's, who knows. But yeah, it should be good fun. Uni's good fun." He also says, "I've wanted Malacia for a long time. For CDM, get Sangare or Martinez. Sad about Ronaldo, but I don't blame him. I think it's important we invest in our wingers too." Oh yeah, no, wingers, obviously with Sancho coming in last season, that was, I think, a big, kind of monkey off the back, if you like, in terms of a transfer saga that was going on for quite a while. But, he obviously addressed that position. But I think we do need to look at, bringing in those sort of players. And, I mean, those two that you've mentioned, I feel like they would be decent. I think in terms of the budget as well, we've got to think realistically about our budget. It seems, obviously, with the quoted number being, I think, like 120 million for the summer. So we've got to be realistic, especially if we're looking to bring in De Jong as well. So I think those two would be two decent signings to get done. And yeah, I'm just hoping, as I said, Ten Hag's kind of looked at some candidates, or at least kind of given some names to Richard Arnold and Murta and these guys. And RJ says, petition for Maguire to never play again. I'm sure there'll be a few people that sign that. I'm sure there'll be a few people that would sign that petition. But I think with Maguire, it'll be very interesting to see what Ten Hag has made in Maguire in the short time that he's had to kind of assess him. Obviously, Maguire, I think right now is not back from holiday. I think he was with England, so he's got a few more weeks on holiday. So he hasn't actually been training with the team, but obviously Ten Hag would have watched a little bit of us last season, and obviously if he's like the rest of us, he wouldn't have been too impressed. But I will be interested to see whether Ten Hag does stick with Harry Maguire, whether he drops him. What happens with that? It'll be very interesting. Because if he does keep Maguire in the team, and obviously we get Malacia in, it'd be interesting to see how Maguire fares in Ten Hag's system, but also who partners Maguire. Obviously Lindelof and Varane seem the two candidates, and we saw hybrids of that kind of partnership throughout the season. But who will be the partner next to Harry Maguire if he is chosen? Or will it be Lindelof and Varane? I mean, I did see some people hinting at the fact that Ten Hag was looking at a Lindelof-Varane partnership, but only time will tell. Only time will tell. And I know it's a boring answer. My personal preference would probably be Lindelof and Varane, because yes, I know Lindelof has come in for a bit of criticism, and so has Varane, to be honest with you. I think a lot of people have said that he hasn't really had the same sort of impact that we thought he was going to have, especially with the fact that he was coming from Real Madrid, the pedigree of the Champions Leagues he's won. He was plighted by injuries, of course, so you have to give him a little bit of slack, and it was his first season in English football. But I think a lot of people were a little bit disappointed with how Varane performed. Lindelof as well, I don't think had a great season, but for me, I do think that Lindelof is not a terrible centre-back. I don't think he's an amazing centre-back, don't get me wrong, but I actually think there is a good player in there as long as you get someone in next to him. And I think Varane would be a good player to have next to him, good experience. So we'll wait and see what Ten Hag does, but I would probably go with Varane and Lindelof. I would go with Varane and Lindelof. RJ says he can take a permanent holiday for all I care. I tell you what, that's, as I said, that's probably an opinion held by most United fans at this point. But obviously, we want all of our players to come good. We want them to do the best they can. I'm sure. I'm sure he's working hard, but we'll see what Ten Hag thinks. We'll see what Ten Hag thinks. But any last opinions, any last thoughts, any last questions? My streams probably won't be too long. Obviously, we've already been going for half an hour. It's flown by. So, as I said, any last opinions, any last thoughts going into, well, our first pre-season game, which I think is the 14th of July, I believe, which is in about 2 weeks, just under 2 weeks. I think it's against Liverpool in Bangkok, I believe. So it'll be an interesting game. As I said, hopefully we get to see at least one new signing, because it's always nice in pre-season to kind of see a few of the new guys playing. And I just don't think that it's really hits the same when you're just watching the same team as we had. Obviously, Ten Hag being there, it'll be interesting to see how he starts to implement his new system. But it's always nice to see a few new faces in the team in that pre-season, and also it's a good opportunity to bed them into the squad. And that's something which we didn't have last season. Sancho and Varane very much had to learn on the job and were thrown into the deep end of Premier League football. Whereas if you kind of get to see them in pre-season, they can kind of feed their way into the team and just kind of get used to the players that are around them. So hopefully we see a few fresh faces. Hopefully, fingers crossed. Yeah, good to see you, RJ. As I said, good to see you. Hope you're doing well. And yeah, cheers for joining. Really do appreciate it. Really do appreciate it. Have a good rest of your Saturday evening and rest of your weekend, of course. But if anyone's got anything else to say, also if you've got this far in the video, thank you so much for watching this far. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. I really do enjoy kind of reading and going through your comments and just seeing your opinions. As I said, it's all a matter of opinion. It's always good to hear from you guys about the kind of trending United topics, because as I said, on social media, you kind of you do get two sides to it, and everyone's got their opinion on social media. But it's just better when it comes from like a community that you built, and it's good to hear from people and good to kind of gauge what the fan base are thinking. And I think in this community we've got a lot of level-headed individuals, so it's always good to hear from you guys. But with that being said, I'm probably going to wrap it up here. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Really do appreciate it. As I said, leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Subscribe to the channel as well if you are new. And I hope it's not too long before the next time we speak again. But until then, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Cheers.